Hi, I'm Chad Boeninger, Business Librarian for Ohio University Libraries. I have the pleasure of teaching business students at my university and across the internet about how to do business research. This video is a recording of a video that I did earlier this week where I taught over 400 business students how to do some research. In this video, we're going to be looking at using Simmons to do cross-tabulations and to basically understand an industry and a consumer. If you've never used Simmons before, this video gives you a good in-depth look at how to do a cross-tab. So let's get started. So I'm going to use Simmons here. And the last time we used this, we created a demographic profile. I'm not going to do that today. There is a recording of that from our last time together that's available in your Canvas that you can go back and look at how to do that if you want to repeat that process. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to go under Analyze here and click on Crosstab. Okay. So when you do a crosstab, basically you're building a table, and a table has columns, right? And then it's got rows. Okay. And where those columns and rows intersect is where you kind of cross-tabulate the data, okay? Now, for my example, what I'm going to do is, let me get my notes here so I don't forget what I was going to do, okay? All right, so I'm going to go in here on the left-hand side, and you can use the search menu if you're searching for a particular product or whatever. I'm just going to go under Candy and Browse here, and I'm going to go and look at box chocolate, and I'm going to do category here. And what I want to do is do light, medium, and heavy users of box chocolates. And you can either click add down here, or you can just drag these guys over here. All right. And what I'm going to do is put these over here in my columns. And I'm going to do light, then medium, and then heavy in my column. All right. And then for my rows, I'm going to look at particular brands of box chocolate. So I want to try to figure out, like, is there any kind of, correlation between heavy users and what brands they buy and things like that. Okay. So I'm going to do Ghirardelli. I'll do Russell Stover, and we'll do Ferrero Rocher, and then we can do Godiva here. All right. So let's do that, and then we can drag these over here, all right? Now, what we can do here is I'm going to put these down in my rows, and we can basically do them one at a time, or we can select all and then drag these down here on the right-hand side, all right? So once we're content with that, if we shrink this down a little bit, let's see, where'd my button go? Oh, it's in. Sorry, I had my little Teams little menu was right there in the way. Let me blow that back up. There we go. Right here with the Run Report button, the little Teams recording thing was right on top of that. So that's not convenient. So we'll click Run Report down here. So what this does, it generates this chart, if you will. Okay. Now the study universe here is everybody who took this survey, right? And you can see the sample size of the survey is like 51,000 people. So that's a lot more than like the 1,700 people that were in Mintel. So that means we can do a lot more analysis with this data across multiple data points. All right. And so here we see of everybody who took the survey, 6%, I'm using this vertical percent, of everybody who took the survey, we use this vertical here. 6.6% bought Ferrero Rocher in the last 6 months. 3.8 bought Ghirardelli. 3.89 bought Godiva. 4.85 bought Russell Stover. Okay. So if you're starting up here with your story, you're going to basically start with this and then use the vertical percent there. Okay. All right. You'll also see the index here. The index for the entire study is 100. So this is going to be the same for the entire study until we get to the individual variables over there. That's important to kind of look at there. Okay. So if we scroll over, here we see Of those who bought boxes of chocolate, bought 0 to 1 box of chocolate in the last 30 days. If we use the vertical percent, 25% bought Ferrero Rocher, 14% bought Ghirardelli, 14% bought Godiva, 8.89% bought Russell Stover. Okay. Now, if you look at the index here, we're seeing now that these people are probably more inclined to buy boxes of chocolate than the rest of the survey population. Remember, the survey population index size was 100. For people who bought boxed chocolates in the last month, this basically says the people who bought boxed chocolates in the last 30 days, they are 282 percentage points more likely than the general survey population to have bought Ferrero Rocher in the last 6 months or so. Okay. This kind of gets a little bit more interesting as you kind of go over and look at your heavier users. So now we're looking at our heavier users, And now if you go over here and look at the people who bought 3+ boxes of chocolate in the last 30 days, we see that 38% of them bought Ferrero Rochers. 24% of those people who bought boxed chocolate in the last 30 days bought Ghirardelli. 26% bought Godiva, 27% bought Russell Stover, right? So it looks to me like as we get into your heavier users are more inclined to buy those other premium brands, right, than the rest of the population, right? That's kind of interesting to look at. You can also see the index reflects that, right? So here we see of the people who bought 3+ boxes of chocolate in the last 30 days, they are 578 percentage points more likely than the general survey population to have bought Godiva in the last 6 months, right? So the people who are heavier users of boxed chocolate tend to be buying more of the premium products than the rest of the survey population. So that's kind of how you can kind of use that. That's just one kind of example there, right? Now, another thing we can look at here, if we go back to our composer, there are, within here, there's all kinds of stuff that you can look at. And here we have a psychographic section here. And I'm going to look at food attitudes here. And I happen to know that within this food attitudes here, there is I try to eat gourmet food whenever I can. Okay. So what I'm going to do is actually drag this. Let's do, now this statement here, you notice I couldn't drag it over here because I have to go up here and combine it with one of these, right? And I'm going to do any agree, all right? Any agree means agree completely, agree somewhat, and then, or any agree, right? So this is agree completely, agree somewhat equals any agree. Okay, so I'm just going to do that and then drag that over there, okay? Now what we're going to do now is we are going to drag this guy over here. And what I want to look at is, and I'm going to pull this one up here so I can see it at the very top. There we go. So you can kind of reorder things. What I want to look at now is this statement here that says, I try to eat gourmet whenever I can, any agree, right? And so if we're looking at our brands here, we see that those gourmet food consumers are actually 6 percentage points less likely than the survey population to have bought Russell Stover in the last 6 months, right? Russell Stover is kind of like the CVS Walgreens brand, like when you're in a hurry, and you forgot to buy something for your Valentine's Day, present or whatever. It's not like, it's okay stuff, but it's not like it's not the premium cream of the crop stuff, right? And so here we see that, those premium brands are more appealing to those gourmet food consumers, right? So just something to look at. You could use this like if you're trying to say, well, I'm looking at opening a gourmet chocolate shop. Like, what kinds of brands would I like to compare myself? What kind of brands can I use as a proxy, if you will, to help kind of understand your consumers, right? So once you have something like this that you like, what you can do is go up here in the top right-hand corner. You can export this as an Excel file, right? So I'm going to click Excel. And I'm going to do standard, and I'm going to do all. And what this will give us, it's almost overkill, but this is going to give us not only the data that we asked for, but it's also going to give us this massive list of other data in Excel format for all of these other users. All right, so this is basically what we pulled right here for the study that I just looked at. And so here we see, here's looking at just men, looking at just women, right? Looking at male principal shoppers, looking at adults age 18 to 34. So you can kind of use this to look at, basically the same kind of data, but broken down by demographic areas, right? That's automatically done that for you. So a cool way to kind of do one search and then pull a bunch of other data that you can then kind of explore in there as well. So this kind of goes on forever and ever, right? Lots of good data that you can look at. So if you're looking at, men age 25 to 54, et cetera. So yeah, so we see that kind of stuff, right? So here, all kinds of data you can look at the indexes, how they change based on age, things like that. Okay. So that's like one kind of example of a use case of how you might use MRI Simmons. Hopefully this video helped you better understand how to use this resource effectively, and I wish you the best of luck in your research. Take care.